Coming up, interviews with the leaders from the two largest tribes in the country. Tensions mount at Chaco Canyon. The Indian Child Welfare Act is personal for an Oklahoma family, and the arts have changed the lives of Dakota and Lakota people. I'm Aliyah Chavez. Join us for those interviews, plus headlines from the ICT Newscast.
This program is made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, a private corporation funded by the American people.
Arizona State University welcomes 3,500 Indigenous students from Arizona and across the nation. It serves one of the largest populations of Indigenous students among U.S. colleges and universities. We created a sense of place for tribal nations to create futures of their own making through community outreach and research, taught by world-class Indigenous faculty where they see a reflection of themselves and their experiences. Find community at ASU.
This is the ICT Newscast with Aliyah Chavez.
Amarawa Hopa, thank you for joining us. Secretary of the Interior Deb Haaland announced new federal protections for the sacred site called Chaco Canyon in early June. The UNESCO World Heritage Site, located in New Mexico near the Four Corners area, is a sacred place to many pueblos and the Navajo Nation. For the next 20 years, the government will not allow any new oil and gas leases on federal lands. That's around a 10-mile buffer zone of the park. The decision does not affect already existing leases, but it was not welcomed by Navajo people in the area. This was the scene in mid-June at what was supposed to be a celebration hosted by Secretary Deb Haaland. Many were headed to Chaco Culture National Historical Park until the road was blocked by protesters. Many of those opposed were Navajo allottees, which are the closest thing Navajo has to private landowners. Their land allotments came as a result of the 1887 Dawes Act, when parcels of land were given to individual Navajo households. The area, nicknamed the Greater Chaco region, is rich in oil and gas, with data showing over 37,000 wells already existing. But those projects have worried people for decades because of the dangers of natural resource development. It includes increased traffic from trucks, degrading water quality, and the potential of leaks or spills, among other associated impacts. Delora Jesus is a Navajo allottee who helped organize this road blockade. She told ICT the money she gets from oil and gas helps her community.
We're really blessed with the money we're getting. And then, of course, we have the tri-chapters. We have Navajo allottees in that area that are really benefiting it. You know, and this money really helped everybody to get out of poverty. They got new homes, new vehicles, a better way of life, and some are even sending their kids to school with this money.
Many of the allottees say they feel their rights were violated. That includes Suzanne Lopez.
My kids all work in the oil field, and they're taking away their jobs, their resources, and what Haaland did is very unprofessional.
Allottees said what they want is a reversal on this moratorium and to meet with Secretary Haaland directly.
And no oil company is going to come out here and just, work with 160 acres. They need more than that. And we try to work with Deb Haaland, Department of Interior, but at no means she never met with us. We only had a small Zoom meeting, but that didn't last very long. We had invited her several times to meet with us, but she never acted.
Many people I spoke with, including Janine Yazzie, say there has been a lot of misinformation spread about this action.
We know the moratorium itself does not have any effect on allottees and the lands that they have. It does not have any effect on any of the existing oil leases that are already in contract. And so what we're seeing is that argument is really structured to mischaracterize the situation for the benefit of oil companies, because it's the oil companies that are off that they can't work through federal lands and to continue to exploit oil and gas deposits that are present throughout the region. This conflict is really the result of internalized colonization and the way people have come to look at their individual land versus our collective responsibility to our shared homeland.
Tweety Paisano Suazo is from the pueblos of Laguna and Acoma. Her car was one of the first to interact with the protesters.
I went through a lot of people yelling at me, telling me to go home. I saw other Pueblo members there from Tamayame, from Santa Ana. Just like one of the men that was there from Zia said, you know, and they were confronting him because he was standing there next to me and talking to me. They were saying, "Why are you here?" And he was saying, "Well, I came to pray." And I'm like, well, we all came to pray. I mean, this is where we come to pray as Pueblo people.
Some of the Navajo people here were not against oil and gas. When one Navajo woman spoke out, this happened.
I thought it was important for us to rally as Dene people who are in solidarity with our Pueblo relatives to show that that's not reflective of the larger Dene grassroots, that we have been fighting and will continue to fight for the protection of our Mother Earth and our waters and our sacred sites.
When I asked Navajo allottees about the impacts of wells, they had this to say.
God created these resources. I know it's the future for our kids and our grandkids, and who wouldn't, want to go the green energy way, but they're not really coming to reality. I'm saying, because we're still trying to get our Navajo allottees the necessities that everybody else already has. They need water, they need electricity. The Navajos have always voted Democrat, but I think a lot now are seeing that, that the Democrat haven't really, they say that they're going to help us, but they haven't come forth. But we're getting more response from the Republican. So I myself am a Republican.
As far as the environmental, it comes from the vehicles, it comes from air conditioner. It doesn't come from these oil and gas people. They make sure that everything is put back the way it was found. And I don't see no environmental issue down there.
Later that day, supporters of the oil and gas freeze drove over 150 miles east to Albuquerque because they were not allowed through the blockade.
This morning was not ideal. To see any road, yes, it wasn't ideal. That's the nicest thing I can say about it. To see any road into any of our national parks or our public lands blocked was heartbreaking, because our public lands belong to all Americans.
The Interior Department has backed its decision on the Greater Chaco region, saying it did a thorough and long study. In the meantime, Native leaders are calling for peace.
We as Indigenous people should all be together, holding each other and supporting each other. We shouldn't be fighting each other.
I spoke with Navajo Nation President Boo Nygren a few days after the blockade at Chaco Canyon. He mentioned both the action and the withdrawal. Let's jump in here. I was outside at the protests at Chaco Culture National Historical Park. I'd like to get your reaction on the Navajo allottees who put on the demonstrations there.
It's not surprising to me, because I know that I got a phone call from the secretary's office saying that they were going to visit have a celebration on Sunday. So my comment to the secretary's office was, well, I don't know if that's a little too early to be celebrating, because I know the Latis and the Navajo people, the number of phone calls that I got in my office to really be celebrating something like that. So I asked them, I said, is it possible to postpone this maybe 6 months, 9 months, and kind of let people let it sink in? So that was my request to them. And I also asked them to be careful, because there's a lot of people that are upset. There's a lot of people that are very disappointed in the decision.
I don't know if you can share how much you've been briefed on the protests. I know that I witnessed some shouting as well as some pushing and shoving, but what do you know about the protests?
What I've been informed is there was just a lot of Navajo people that were very upset. I know that it definitely put us in a tough situation as the Navajo Nation, because I know a lot of our people are activists. I know they've been activists for a long time for causes all across America. But when it comes to Chaco, it was difficult because, like I said, I've got two different areas that I fully support, and then you got Chaco. And then with Chaco, the local community completely opposes it. And so I knew it was a recipe for disaster for the secretary and the outside interest groups coming in onto Chaco to do that. And so it wasn't surprising to me. I think that it's just people's livelihoods, people's lands are on the line. And you and I are well aware of how big Eastern Agency is. It's a huge land base, and thousands of Navajo people live on there. So when you're trying to force thousands of Navajo people on something that they don't want, you should at least expect a few hundred of them to come out and be very frustrated. And that's what I told them. I said, but as the president, I try to weave a fine line working with the secretary, because a lot of stuff does affect the Navajo Nation. We're in 3 states. We've got 27,000 square miles, 17.5 million acres that I'm the president over. So I cannot get too into what's going on in Eastern, because the secretary has a lot of power. And that's what's really frustrating on my end, is that the possibilities of her working against me on not getting gravel pits, roads, right-of-ways, and things that go through the BIA, the National Park Service, issues that are affecting Western Navajo. So if, that's the relationship that I'm really careful about. And to me, I just felt like if the locals don't want it, the tribe doesn't want it, the president supports what the local people are wanting, then that should kind of be the lay of the land.
As the leader of the Navajo Nation, do you ever see a scenario in which you're calling on your citizens to stop pinning pueblos versus Navajos, or how do you see your role in terms of the actions of your citizens?
I think to me, one of the things I think about is, as I mentioned earlier, I think on the Navajo Nation side, we've tried to reach out to the All Pueblo Council. We've tried to reach out to the secretary's office, and then we've tried to propose a 5 mile. And I don't know what more else we can do, except when I think that just shows the frustration. I think our people are just frustrated. That says, you know what, we've done our part. When are they going to do their part? Kind of a deal. So I think that's where it's. I think I've extended the invitation to the All Pueblo Council. I've extended the invitation to the Secretary's office to go back out and have coffee and have stew and fry bread and talk with the community and really educate them and tell them that you're sorry that we just came in here and we did this on our own without your support. And I think the discussion starts there.
Do you think that it has been made crystal clear to Navajo Alatis that this withdrawal only affects federal lands and for future leases, and that it does not at all affect existing leases?
So I think that's where I'm going to actually re-challenge the Interior Department, because before this decision was made, we asked them some very straightforward questions on what this actually means economically. And we never got responses on it. We never really truly had a yes or no, or they're not going to be affected. So one of the things I'm going to task my team is to follow up on those questions and say, you know what, we presented these questions to you. You didn't answer them. You knew there was challenges to them. So can you answer these questions publicly and guarantee the people that they will not be affected. So that's one of the things I'm going to do, because like I said, I've had consultation. I've had my attorneys, secretary's attorneys, everybody's on it. The one question we always ask was, will this if really truly not affect Alatis moving into the future? And that question was never a yes, they will not be affected. And so we're gonna follow up on that to get that. If we can truly get that response from the secretary that this is not going to economically impact the people moving forward, all right, then we move on, have another discussion. But to me, it'll be interesting on how they do that response.
Well, President Boo Nygren, thank you so much.
All right, hug on it.
Chuck Hoskin Jr. was re-elected to the job of Principal Chief of the Cherokee Nation earlier this month. ICT's Polly Danette-Claw has this interview that was recorded on June 7th.
Thank you so much, Chief Hoskin, for being here with us today on the newscast.
Well, thanks for having me.
So first, congratulations on your re-election to Principal Chief of the Cherokee Nation. Can you tell me a little bit about what it feels like?
Well, first of all, thank you for the congratulations. It feels good. I mean, the victory for me and for Deputy Chief Brian Warner was by a significant margin, and geographically it was spread. And what that tells us is that, you know, we've got approval from the Cherokee people to keep moving in this direction. But, you know, we also learned something from the campaign, and we certainly come out of the campaign mindful that, you know, there were concerns that we learned about. And so we have to, I think, do even better in the second term. So I'm excited about it.
And looking forward into your second term as Principal Chief, what are some of the things that you're looking to accomplish?
Well, first and foremost, we've got to continue and finish some of the projects we started. They were very ambitious projects that were always going to take more than one term. One is our hospital. It'll be the largest in Indian country. It's a $400 million investment that replaces a hospital that is too old and undersized and needed replaced. But finishing that, I think, is going to be really important. We have another health center in the community of Salina that we need to replace. It'll triple the size of the facility for that small community. But I think in the area of healthcare, what I'm most excited about in the second term is starting some behavioral health and drug treatment facilities, particularly drug treatment facilities. We locked down $100 million of opioid settlement money in recent years. We've got a plan over the next 5 years to build drug treatment centers and expand programs. So we really need to do that because there's a great deal of healing that needs to happen in that space. And I think we've got the resources to do it. Some other things that we're looking at, though, is the external threats to sovereignty. They remain for all of us across Indian country. We've certainly seen it at the Cherokee Nation, whether it was attacks on the gaming compact, whether it was the fallout from the McGirt case, making sure we seize those opportunities, but push back on efforts to undermine our reservation. So those things require constant vigilance. And then I think we're going to be looking at some new initiatives, particularly initiatives focused at the grassroots of Cherokee community. What can we do from the government side to help support that? So Deputy Chief and I are excited about it and looking forward to getting to work in the second term.
And, you know, looking forward as well, one of the things that is coming up this summer is the Indian Child Welfare Act decision from the Supreme Court. Is that something that the Cherokee Nation is concerned about?
It is, you know, that's one of those external threats that I was referencing earlier. That decision, you know, coming down any day now. And when it comes down, if it's on the side of fairness and justice, then the Indian Child Welfare Act will remain completely intact and we can move forward protecting Native children. If there is a undermining of the Indian Child Welfare Act, we know that that could well be impactful for a great many other areas of federal Indian law. But just looking at the Indian Child Welfare Act, we will have to respond by pressing the Congress to restore whatever the Supreme Court might take away. And then we've got to look across the landscape at how that affects other areas. I mean, for example, in the Pacific Northwest, there's a court case that's attacking the Indian Gaming Regulatory Act, and it's doing it on the precise basis that the attack against ICWA has been launched, or at least the core basis. So these are really important times for Indian country, and times in which we can see tremendous gains, such as under McGirt, but also times that we can see a pushback and an undermining of where we stand.
And what is one message that you have for your constituents and for members of the Cherokee Nation?
Well, elections can be divisive, and we know that that's part of democracy. In fact, it's part of the beauty of Cherokee democracy that we voice our opinions. But the election's over, and I think what people in leadership positions need to do, win or lose, is try to come together. And I think the Cherokee people want to see unity. I mean, if we agreed on everything, we wouldn't be a Cherokee. Goodness knows that. But there are some core things that we can focus on. Language preservation, something I hadn't mentioned so far in our discussion, is something that Cherokees really have rallied around and can continue to rally around. And the good news is we're making a lot of progress. And so I think if we see ourselves as Cherokee people, and then more broadly as Native people on a mission to revitalize culture and language, make sure our history is taught correctly, and then make sure we're taking care of each other, I think the politics become less important and building up our nations become more important. So out of this election, I'd like us to focus on that.
Is there anything else that you would like to add, Chief Hoskin?
Well, one thing I would take out of this election is we saw a really high turnout compared to the last election, far short of where we need it to be in the Cherokee Nation. We're a large tribe, the largest by population, 450,000 citizens. Our turnout was 17,000. That's too low compared to what it could be, but it's actually a 24% increase from the last Chiefs race 4 years ago. So we're moving in the right direction, but I think we have to, as leaders, exercise some responsibility, accept some responsibility that we need to engage more with our citizens. So moving in the right direction, but let's get more people out to vote in the future.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Chief Hoskin, for joining us here on the ICT Newscast.
What'o.
The U.S. Supreme Court issued an opinion on the Indian Child Welfare Act last week, upholding the laws of victory for tribal sovereignty, and it's personal to an Oklahoma family. Dakota McDowell Wapakichi explains.
Kason and Bria became part of our family. And so
the Supreme Court's ruling is what people in Indian country hoped for.
This is important.
It was a 7-2 majority ruling that upholds a landmark indigenous law, the Indian Child Welfare Act, also known as ICWA. The 1978 law prevents non-Native families from adopting Native children and keeps them with Native families like the Turs in Edmond. Kayla Tur is not Native, but married her husband who is Choctaw and says she has learned so much about the Native culture.
I can't relate to any of that. My family can't relate to any of that. But I love how the Native culture and traditions are just big on family.
The Turs added Kason and Bria into their family years ago. The two kids are Cheyenne and Arapaho, and they've taught West Tur, who is Choctaw, more about their culture.
Warriors and survivors and really just hardworking people and family people.
A key reason for the law is keeping Native children in their culture. Kason Tur, who is 8 years old, says he has learned about many things, including stickball.
I play stickball, and this is what I used to play it. You pick it up, and you put the ball in there, and you throw it.
This Native family is like many across not only Oklahoma, but the United States, saying the decision to uphold ICWA is a good one.
There's so much in a child's upbringing, whether it's their identity or their background, where they came from, that is better if they are raised in that same community.
And now, after the High Court's decision, home is Native America. In Oklahoma, Dakota McDowell Wapakichi, ICT News.
Oscar Howe, a Dakota artist born in 1915, changed the genre of American Indian art. Visitors get a rare glimpse of his work this summer. ICT's Shirley Snavy has this report.
I want you to raise your hand if you had never heard of Oscar Howe before this exhibition. Right? All right. No one. Okay.
Born in 1915 on the Crow Creek Reservation, Oscar Howe redefined the genre of Native American art, and now visitors can see it in an unprecedented collection of his works, now fragile due to age and materials.
The show has been a long time in the making, and so we first learned of it when the curators and researchers who were working on the show visited to see our collection of Oscar Howe art. Later on, fast forward a couple of years and post-pandemic, we really started advocating for the show to come to the South Dakota Art Museum. So it could be here where Oscar Howe's relatives and family and the people that admired him could visit it.
When I went to college in 1978, I took a class and they were talking about Oscar Howe. And I was like, gee, that's Grandpa Oscar, I thought to myself. So I went home on break and I said to my Grandpa Edward, how come you didn't tell me Grandpa Oscar was like all famous and was an artist and a teacher? And he looked at me and he was all quiet and he said, because you never asked me.
The exhibition Continuum features the works of Oscar Howe's students.
So walking through this exhibit here is really bringing Oscar's spirit back into me again.
The exhibition closes September 17th. In Brookings, South Dakota, Shirley Snavy, ICT News.
And that's a slice of our Indigenous world. For all the latest, visit ictnews.org. From all of us in the newsroom, stay safe, my relatives.
This program is made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, a private corporation funded by the American people.